Good afternoon. Today's topic of discussion is ocular injuries. That is, we are dealing with the mechanical injuries in specific. Ocular injuries are classified under mechanical injuries, chemical injuries, thermal injuries, electrical injuries, and the radiational injuries. Ocular trauma terminologies. This has been proposed by the Birmingham Eye Trauma Terminology and adopted by American Ocular Trauma Society. According to this, it is classified in closed globe injury and open globe injuries. In closed globe injury, again there will be a contusion, lamellar laceration. In open globe injury, there will be globe rupture and laceration. Laceration can be with penetrating injury or it will be perforating injury along with the intraocular foreign body injury. Ocular injuries here also showing the same classification, that is left side it shows the closed globe injury which is divided in contusions and lamellar laceration, whereas the open globe injury there will be a rupture and laceration which is again divided into penetrating injuries with the intraocular foreign bodies and perforating injury. Here we are dealing with the mechanical injuries. These again in different way it has been classified in extraocular foreign bodies, blunt trauma, open globe injuries and sympathetic ophthalmitis. The extraocular foreign bodies, here we will study what are the common sites for the foreign body, that is especially on the conjunctiva, on the cornea. Other common types of foreign bodies we can see are particles of iron, emery and coal, husk of paddy, wings of insects, dust, sand, glass and wood pieces, etc. The symptoms with these extraocular foreign bodies are discomfort, watering, redness, pain, photophobia and defective vision. The signs will be the blepharospasm, conjunctival congestion. Localization of these foreign bodies can be done by staining with fluorescent and examination under the slit lamp. The usual complications along with these extraocular foreign bodies are acute bacterial conjunctivitis, and if left untreated they may cause corneal ulceration and there will be maybe pigmentation and corneal opacity also can develop. Treatment for the extraocular foreign bodies will be by use of topical anesthesia. These foreign bodies can be removed with the use of swab sticks. If they are fixed and it is deep, then one can use the hypodermic needle also. Once the foreign body is removed, pad and bandage with topical antibiotic is advised for 24 to 48 hours. The persons who are coming across with this type of foreign bodies can use protective glasses, and also we can give eye health care education for these type of patients. The blunt trauma can be again what is the mode of injury. So here the mode of injury is the direct blow to the eyeball by fist or by ball or blunt instrument or a stone also. So it can occur accidental trauma due to the fall on the blunt projecting object. The mechanics of the blunt trauma to the eyeball are the firstly, that is the direct impact force on the globe, then the compression wave force which transmitted force can cause the countercope injury that is counter coup damage also. Reflected compression wave force also will cause the damage. There will be a rebound compression wave force, and there is a indirect force with the bone. Here you can see the mechanics of the blunt trauma and the damages occurring. So here in the blunt trauma it can cause angle recession, and there may be iridodialysis. There may chances of zonular rupture one can see, and if the force is more, then there may be chances of maxillary antral fracture. There may be a choroidal rupture and a retinal dialysis. The modes of damage in this, the mechanical tearing of the tissue of the eyeball, damage leading to the disruption of the physiological activity, vascular damage leading to ischemia, edema and hemorrhages, trophic changes due to nerve supply, delayed complications as secondary glaucoma and hemophthalmitis can occur. Rosacea cataract and retinal detachment are also seen. Here you can see the grading of the hyphema. The upper picture shows the normal antechamber. The first grade 1, there will be 1/3 of the antechamber is involved, whereas in grade 2 half of the antechamber, and in the third it will be 2/3. In the grade 4 it will be total hyphema. So the prognosis in the first two will be better because it will get resolved, and the third and fourth we have to do some intervention, and antechamber aspiration of the blood should be done. Here you can see the picture with the blunt trauma. Here is the black eye. Here the collection of subcutaneous blood and staining is seen. Here you can see the Rossetti type of cataract, that is anterior subcapsular cataract. The traumatic lesions of the blunt trauma are closed globe injuries, globe rupture, extraocular lesions. Firstly, the closed globe injury. It can be either it may be contusional or only partial thickness lamellar laceration is seen. In lesions of the closed globe injury, we can see in the cornea there may be simple aberrations which are painful, diagnosed by fluorescence staining, which usually heals in 24 hours with patent bandage. There may be recurrent corneal erosions which is called as keratocondylalgia due to the loose attachment of the epithelium to the Bowman's membrane. It can be treated by debridement of the epithelium and patent bandage for 48 hours. There may be partial corneal tears, may also follow blunt trauma. Other lesions of the closed globe injuries are in cornea. It may occur secondary to hyphema and raised intraocular pressure. That is, cornea becomes reddish brown or greenish in color, simulating clear lens dislocation in antechamber. May take more than 2 years for clearing. Deep corneal opacity due to corneal stromal edema and Descemet folds can occur. In sclera, there may be lamellar scleral lacerations. In anterior chamber, the traumatic hyphema due to the injury of the iris or ciliary blood vessels, and there may be exudates due to traumatic uveitis. Here you can see the blood staining of the cornea. In iris pupil and ciliary body, we can see there may be a traumatic mydriasis, that is iridoplasia, traumatic meiosis due to spasm of accommodation, rupture of the pupillary margins, radiating tears in the iris stroma. There may be iridodialysis, that is D-shaped pupil may form, anti-flexion of the iris, retroflexion of the iris, or iris invisible, that is traumatic aniridia or iridremia. Angle recession can occur, which may lead to secondary glaucoma. Inflammatory changes, that is iridocyclitis, which can be treated by antibiotics, atropine and steroids. In lens, we can see there will be a osseous ring on the anterior capsule of the lens. The concussion cataract, which occurs due to the imbibition of the aqueous and leads to the discrete subepithelial opacities, early Rossetti cataract, or it may be late Rossetti cataract, which develops in 1 to 2 years. There may be traumatic zonular cataract, early maturation of the senile cataract, traumatic absorption of lens, which is seen in children leading to aphakia, or there may be a subluxation of the lens. The dislocation of the lens either posteriorly or anteriorly, sometimes subconjunctivally, which is called as a phacoseal. In vitreous, we can see the changes are liquefaction and appearance of clouds, detachment of the vitreous, that is known as posterior vitreous detachment. There may be vitreous hemorrhage, vitreous herniation. In choroid, we can see rupture of the choroid, choroidal hemorrhage, choroidal detachment, and traumatic choroiditis. In retina, we can see there may be a commissural retinae, that is also known as Berlin's edema, with the appearance of the cherry red spot in the foveal region. There will be multiple retinal hemorrhages, including pre-retinal hemorrhages also. Retinal tears may occur, more chances in case of myopics. Traumatic proliferative retinopathy or retinitis proliferans and forming traction bands, which may also lead to retinal detachment, traction retinal detachment. Next, traumatic glaucoma and traumatic hypotony can occur. Traumatic changes in refraction as myopia due to ciliary spasm and hypermetropia due to damage to the ciliary body. In globe rupture, we see globe rupture is the full thickness wound of eyeball, that is sclera and cornea or both. It can occur in two ways. One is direct rupture or indirect rupture due to the compression force. Superior nasal limbus is the commonest site of the globe rupture. The treatment of the badly injured eye is enucleation. Less severe cases, repair should be done. Postoperative atropine and antibiotics are used. In extraocular lesions which is caused by the blunt trauma, we can see the conjunctival lesions, that is subconjunctival hemorrhage, chemosis, laceration of wounds of the conjunctiva. Then eyelids, we can see ecchymosis leading to black eye, laceration, avulsion of the lids, and traumatic ptosis. In case of lacrimal apparatus, there may be a canalicular laceration can occur. Optic nerve injuries, including avulsion associated with the fracture of skull, are seen. In orbital fractures, that is blowout fracture of the floor, orbital hemorrhage and orbital emphysema are seen. In open globe injuries, which are defined as full thickness wound of eyeball, again it is divided into globe rupture and globe laceration. That is wound caused by the sharp object, which are including penetrating injury, perforating injury, and along with the intraocular foreign bodies. So first we will see the penetrating and perforating injuries. What is penetrating injury? Penetrating injury is a full thickness wound of the eye wall caused by a sharp object, whereas perforating injury refers to two full thickness wounds, entry and exit wound by a sharp object or a missile. The mode of injury: trauma by the sharp and pointed instruments like needles, nails, arrows. Trauma by the foreign bodies traveling at a very high speed, such as bullet injuries and iron foreign bodies in lathe workers. The effects of the penetrating and perforating injuries are: firstly, there will be mechanical effects, then introduction of the infection along with the foreign body. So, ring abscess of the cornea can be seen, purulent endophthalmitis, endophthalmitis, even panophthalmitis can occur. We have seen post-traumatic endophthalmitis also. There, chances of sympathetic ophthalmitis is also seen. The mechanical effects: these are wounds of conjunctiva which are more than 3 millimeters should be sutured, or the size less than 3 millimeters we can leave it off, it will heal by itself. The wounds of the cornea, that is uncomplicated wounds of more than 2 millimeters should be sutured and with pad and bandage with atropine and antibiotics. Complicated wounds with iris prolapse and lens matter or vitreous disturbance and also should be treated as abscession of the iris part and also vitrectomy and lensectomy. The wounds of the sclera, which are usually with corneal wounds, and the first suture should be applied at the limbus, then the scleral as well as corneal wound should be repaired. Wounds of the lens, we will see sometimes there will be damage to the lens capsule or subluxation. Badly damaged eyes should be excised. The intraocular foreign bodies. In penetrating injuries with intraocular foreign bodies are not uncommon. That means this includes chips of iron, steel, glass, stone, lead pellets, copper, plastic and wood also sometimes. The mode of damage in this intraocular foreign bodies are the mechanical effects, the introduction of infection along with the foreign body, the reaction of the foreign bodies, post-traumatic endophthalmitis and sympathetic ophthalmitis. The foreign bodies of size more than 2 millimeters will cause extensive damage, corneal scleral perforation and even hyphema and iris hole, rupture of the lens and traumatic cataract, vitreous hemorrhage, degeneration, choroidal perforation and inflammation. Retinal holes can occur with vitreous hemorrhage, edema and retinal detachment. Localization of the intraocular foreign body. So usually the foreign body, one should examine firstly the antechamber, then we should examine the iris. Maybe the foreign body is entangled in the iris. Then we have to see the posterior chamber and the lens surface, anterior capsule or in the substance of the lens. Then we have to examine for the foreign body the vitreous cavity, retina, choroid and the orbital cavity. The introduction of the infection. So metallic foreign bodies are usually sterile. Others can lead to endophthalmitis or even panophthalmitis. The reactions of the foreign bodies. Inorganic foreign bodies, depending upon the chemical nature, 4 types of reactions are noted. Number 1, no reaction in case of inert substances as glass, gold or silver. Local irritative reaction with lead and aluminium particles is seen. There will be a suppurative reaction with pure copper or zinc. Specific reaction produced with iron, that is siderosis bulbi, and copper, also known as chalcosis, is seen. In siderosis bulbi, this refers to the degenerative changes produced by an iron foreign body. Usually occurs 2 months to 2 years after the injury. The mechanism here is the iron particles undergo electrolytic dissociation and its ions are disseminated throughout the eye. These ions combines with intracellular proteins and produce degenerative changes. The epithelial structures of the eye are mostly affected. In the manifestations are the anterior epithelium and the capsule of the lens are first involved, and the rusty deposits are arranged in a ring and the lens become cataractous. Iris first stained green, later turns reddish brown. Retina shows degenerative changes as retinitis pigmentosa. Secondary open angle glaucoma due to trabecular meshwork damage also can be seen. Here you can see the picture of siderosis bulbi, where the pigment deposition on the anterior surface of the lens is seen. In chalcosis, which refers to the specific changes produced by the alloy of copper in the eye. Here the mechanism is the copper ions dissociate electrolytically and deposited under the membranous structures of the eye. Clinical manifestations are Kaiser-Fresner's ring, that is golden brown ring under the peripheral part of Descemet's membrane of the cornea due to deposition of copper. Sunflower cataract, it is due to deposition of the copper under the posterior capsule of the lens, looks like petals of the sunflower. Here you can see the chalcosis because of copper intraocular foreign body. The management of retained intraocular foreign body includes firstly the diagnosis. The diagnosis can be done with the recording of history, proper ocular examination, plain X-ray orbit, radiological localization. Before the advent of CT scan, there used to be apply the limbal ring method, which usually is to be taken in the primary position, upper gaze and lower gaze, so that we can localize the exact position of the foreign body. Then ultrasonography. Now ultrasonography, it can tell even the position of the non-radio opaque foreign bodies. Now has come the CT scan with axial and coronal cuts, gives more specificity. MRI for non-magnetic foreign bodies after excluding magnetic foreign bodies. This picture shows the shake hand technique of the removal of the intraocular foreign body with the forceps. Here you will see the metallic foreign body on the retina with retinal hemorrhage also. The treatment will be all the intraocular foreign bodies should be always removed. This removal can be done in case of magnetic foreign bodies, which is easier than the non-magnetic foreign bodies. The methods of the removal depends upon the exact site of the intraocular foreign body. In this picture, one can see the metallic foreign body which is present on the iris surface. This in the antechamber. It is removed through a corneal incision straight towards the foreign body 3 mm internal to the limbus. Magnetic foreign body should be removed by a handheld magnet, whereas in the case of non-magnetic foreign bodies can be picked up with a toothless forceps. The foreign body is entangled in the iris tissue are removed by performing even a sector iridectomy along with the foreign body. The foreign body is present in the lens, damaging the lens capsule and making it cataractous. The foreign body may be evacuated itself along with the lens matter, or it may be removed with the forceps. The foreign body in the vitreous and retina. This can be removed with magnetic removal, that is preferably removed through a pars plana sclerotomy with pre-placed sutures and removed by the handheld powerful magnets. For a intraretinal foreign body, the site of incision should be close to the foreign body. Forceps removal with pars plana vitrectomy. In this technique, the foreign body is removed with vitreous forceps after performing pars plana vitrectomy under operating microscope. Thank you.